right, let's jump right in. We're talking about one of the trickiest balancing acts for any leader. How do you be the boss but not a dictator? And how do you stay friendly and approachable without, losing all your authority? It feels like a constant seesaw, right?
And this quote, it absolutely nails the paradox that so many managers live with every single day. It's this tightrope walk between being a strong, decisive leader and being a human being people actually want to work with. But what if I told you that whole idea that you have to choose one or the other is just plain wrong?
To really see what I mean, let me introduce you to Ajay. He is a manager at a fast-growing company in India, but his team, well, they're hitting some serious roadblocks. Deadlines are being missed, and the tension in their meetings is getting thicker by the day. Now, Ajay's problem is probably going to sound familiar. He's literally caught between two worlds. On one side, you've got the traditional top-down culture he came up in, where the boss's word is law. And on the other, his company is pushing this new, modern, collaborative vibe. He's stuck. So that brings us to the big question, the one we're here to solve. How do you get off this impossible seesaw for good? Well, the answer comes from a really powerful psychological tool called transactional analysis. And trust me, it is way simpler and more useful than it sounds. So here's the deal. Inside all of us, you, me, everyone on your team, we have these three distinct ego states. You can think of them as our inner voices. And understanding these three voices is the key to unlocking this whole puzzle. So let's meet them. First up, we have the parent. This is like your internal hard drive of rules, of shoulds and should nots. It's the voice of authority you picked up from your own parents, your teachers, and all the bosses you've ever had. Next, there is the adult. This is your rational, logical self. It's the part of you that's like a detective. It just wants the facts. It processes reality, solves problems, and it's driven by curiosity, not by judgment. And last but not least, we have the child. Now, this is where all the feelings live. Your joy, your creativity, your spontaneity, but also your fears and your desire to be liked. It's the most raw and authentic part of you. Okay, so here's where it all comes together. Communication completely breaks down when these voices get their wires crossed. When someone speaks from one state and the other person responds from a totally different, unexpected one, you get what's called a cross-transaction. And that's where the trouble starts. Let's go back to Ajay's tense team meeting. When he stands up and says, "You all must follow the process strictly," he's speaking from his critical parent voice. Now, what does his team hear? They hear a command, a potential threat. So they respond from their adapted child. That's the part of us that just agrees to avoid getting in trouble. They nod along, but inside, they've completely checked out. And this is the trap. On the surface, Ajay gets what he wants, compliance, but he's confusing it with real commitment. His authority might feel like it's going up, but his approachability just hits rock bottom. And guess what? Nobody's going to offer a new idea in a room that feels like that. But what if the whole premise is wrong? What if this entire idea of a seesaw where authority and approachability are on opposite ends is a complete myth? This is the breakthrough. And there it is. That's the secret. Authority and approachability are not opposites. They are not a zero-sum game. The moment you truly get this, it changes everything about how you lead. So instead of a seesaw, I want you to picture a graph with two separate axes. You can be high on the authority axis, which means setting firm boundaries and being crystal clear on roles. And at the exact same time, you can be high on the approachability axis, being open, transparent, and willing to connect. You can have both. Okay, so that sounds great, but how do you actually pull it off? How do you turn up both of those dials? You do it by consciously shifting the conversation. You move it out of that dysfunctional parent-child loop and into a collaborative adult-to-adult space. Just look at the night and day difference here. The parent tone, "Why wasn't this done?" is an accusation. It puts people on the defensive. But the adult tone, "Looks like we hit a delay. What's getting in our way?" That's not an accusation. It's an invitation to solve a problem together. One creates fear, the other creates partnership. So let's make this super practical. Here are 4 things you can start doing like today. 1, don't just give orders, explain the reasoning behind them. 2, get your team's input early and often. 3, swap nagging reminders for curious questions. And 4, praise the good work, not just the person. These are small shifts with massive impact. And that massive impact is exactly what happened when Ajay started to make these changes. He stopped trying to force outcomes and started getting curious about what was actually going on with his team.
He literally stopped correcting and started asking simple, adult-to-adult questions like, okay, so what options do we have? The effect was instant. You could feel the tension just drain out of the room, and suddenly, real creative ideas started popping up.
And here's the really cool part. Ajay didn't lose his authority. He transformed it. It was no longer something he had to project with a loud voice or a strict rule. It was just there, in his calm, steady, and curious presence. Because at the end of the day, this is what great leadership is all about. A mature manager's power doesn't come from making people obey. It comes from creating a space where everyone on the team feels safe enough and respected enough to bring their smartest, most capable adult self to work. So, as we wrap up, let me leave you with this. Take a second and think about your own team. Who on your team is maybe stuck in that compliant, adapted child mode? And what is one simple adult-to-adult question you could ask them tomorrow to invite their best thinking to the table?